we've had an excellent time here with Craig and the DeLorean, but it's time to move on. So I'm going to jump in the car and off we go. So, right.
Great, what are you doing?
What's up?
That's yours, isn't it? Come on.
Sorry?
Come on, you've got to get out.
Oh, sorry.
Come
Yeah,
on.
I see what you mean.
Come
Sorry.
on.
I just I got a little mixed up.
Yeah,
so
sure, yeah.
sorry, Craig. I'll take this one, shall I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you later, man. See ya.
Every single time.
Hi guys, so most of yesterday wasn't documented. The camera battery was flat and it was just driving 100 miles from where we were with the DeLorean to where we are today, which is at Beaulieu Motor Museum. So we're going to be taking the Peel P50 inside and just have a look at the museum and enjoy it. Really nice of them to invite us here, so really looking forward to it. So a little surprise for today's episode is I'm being joined by a friend of mine, Pete, who has brought his 1978 Austin Allegro Vanden Plas. So Pete, you've come to join us today at Beaulieu in this Allegro.
Yeah, in this beautiful 1978 Austin Allegro Vanden Plas.
And how far did you drive today?
I drove 100 miles. It was an awful struggle. I thought 100 miles, don't know how I'm going to make it. I might have to stop and have a pork pie halfway. Don't know how I'm going to do it. I might even have to adjust the heating. It's going to be an epic struggle.
To be fair, I've done over 1,000 in the Peel P50.
Oh, nothing. Allegro is where it's at.
I have got a lot of pork pies hidden away in there.
I'm
Well, why did you share it? You never told me you had pork pies. So, what do you think, Alex, actually seeing an original Peel at Beaulieu?
Well, this Peel P50, this exact one, was the first Peel P50 I ever saw when I was about 17 years old. And to actually be able to look at it not just behind a rope, but actually kind of get a little bit hands-on is really exciting for me. So, here they are. They finally meet. The museum have given me the opportunity that I'm really looking forward to actually compare the differences between my replica and an actual original one. So I've been having a look around and I've spotted a few things that are different. So really the differences are not overly obvious, they're actually very subtle. So apart from things to me that are obvious, like this is a 3-speed box instead of 4, and it goes 1 neutral second instead of neutral 1, 2. It's got the famous Peel P50 screen wash, which is basically like an old washing up bottle. You squeeze it and that will squirt onto the windscreen. But really the differences are to do with the actual inner housing. So for example, down here, this houses the DKW engine. So because the cylinder is upright, the housing is a lot taller, and then it's a lot shallower where the chain drive, in mine, it kind of is a continuous line here. So there is a hole in the housing here because we've got the lever here for the choke. So a lot of the noise and possibly some of the kind of oily smells will actually emit through this hole whilst you're driving it. So another little detail here is we've actually got carpet, which mine doesn't have. So that's an interesting feature. So if we look behind the seat here, we've just got a narrow bit of housing that accommodates for the rear wheel suspension strut, whereas on mine this is a much wider space because it's accommodating for a battery. But this original 60s one doesn't actually have a battery. We have an ignition coil down here mounted next to the accelerator, and the handbrake is actually, hello, hang on, we've got 2 handbrakes. This mysterious handbrake is attached on the end here. There's a shaft that goes into what looks like the start of the chain drive. So I can't actually figure out what this is for, so I'm going to have to ask a member of staff. An observation that I missed that has just been pointed out to me is this. The spare wheel here I thought had just been shoved there, but if you actually look at the fiberglass housing of the car, you can see it is specifically there to accommodate for a spare tyre, which is something my car doesn't have. So I'm sitting in this race car which was capable in its day of 205 miles an hour. 205! So this is a 16-cylinder engine and built from Hurricane aircraft parts. This thing is just, every detail when you're looking at it is engineered perfectly. And the idea of doing 215 miles an hour with the tyres right here, this metal bodywork, is not only terrifying but totally exciting and inspiring. This is quite a bizarre way to go on a tour at Beaulieu Motor Museum. Not only am I driving or being pushed in the Peel P50 by the staff who are just as enthusiastic about this as I am. Obviously, because there's a lot of public around, I'm not actually starting the engine up and driving it, but this is the most remarkable experience I've had, you know, it's just crazy. So, here we go, there's lots of people around. So these cars surrounding me, this is really my kind of stuff, the pre-war things, the very early cars. And what have we got? Hello, I can see a car right there that I'm very familiar with. Yes. Thank you, sir, thank you. This is a car very close to my heart, the Model T Ford. The museum are being amazing. They're letting me climb in these cars, so I thought I'd actually talk through the controls of the Model T. So the floor is missing on this one, but that will help with the description. So I owned a Model T for a number of years, and I've done probably thousands of miles in my Model T when I had it. And a lot of people ask me, is the Peel P50 difficult to drive? So I thought the reason I'm focusing on the Model T is these are not difficult to drive, but very different. So let me give you a quick rundown. So my Model T Ford is actually a left-hand drive. And this one actually featured in an episode of Top Gear, this exact one. So Clarkson drove this one. So basically you've got 3 pedals here, but it's not accelerator, brake and clutch. You've got the brake here, so it's got B for brake. The middle one that says R is actually the reverse pedal, and the one on the left, C, it's not really a clutch, but that's kind of what it means. So, okay, try and get your head around this. The handbrake here has 3 positions. If it's pulled all the way back, it means the handbrake is on, the car can't move. If it's in the middle, the handbrake is off. And if I push my foot down on this pedal here, it will engage first gear and the car will move forwards. But when I let go, it will go to neutral. But if I've got my foot down on first and I move the handbrake lever all the way forward, when I let go, the pedal will go past neutral and it will engage second gear, which is top. And it will go up to 40 miles per hour, which you can control with the throttle, which is this stalk here. So as you're going along, when you're in top gear, you don't actually push anything with your feet because it's all controlled on the stalk. So as I said, the Model T is a car very close to my heart, and it's one that I've had a lot of experience with, and I just wanted to share a bit of it with you guys today. But I think it's time to get back into the Peel P50 and have a look at some other cars. This car behind me is quite relevant, quite close to my heart. So it's not actually an old car, it's built off an old Land Rover, and it was used in the film Wind in the Willows with the Monty Python lot, Terry Gilliam, who played Toad. And I remember when I saw that film, I absolutely loved it, and I really tried very hard to research what is that car. And I've just been told, oh, that was used in the Wind in the Willows film. I'm like, what? Look at that. Sitting behind me is probably one of the most famous cars of all time, at least in the movie world. This is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, make no mistake. Now, it's not an unknown thing that they made multiple cars for the film. And this one is actually the boat one. So when it fell off the cliff and it's in the sea and it inflated. So interestingly, this one is quite different to how it was in the film. So after the film's success, they wanted to promote all the kind of film nostalgia. So they actually fit this one with an engine, because originally it didn't even have an engine, it was just used to float around. So you can actually drive this car, and it's got wings that fold out for all the promotional things, but its original core history, that's the one that they floated on. Everyone has seen an old Land Rover, so what could I say about this one that people haven't already heard? Well, this one is chassis number 4. This is the 4th Land Rover. They don't really get much earlier than that. So I'm really interested in my really old cars, but Pete here has definitely spotted a couple of things that possibly fell under my radar. So what have we got, Pete?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for briefly hijacking your programme to let me talk about things I'm enthusiastic about. I myself own a 1978 Austin Allegro, and this car is actually quite relevant to it because this was one of the cars which really highlighted to the British public kind of how bad some of the Leyland vehicles were. Here you had a British car that didn't look very nice, had loads of reliability issues, and the famous Quartic steering wheel, which people just didn't understand.
Basically, if you don't know Quartics, that means essentially the square steering wheel that Allegros were known for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you had the Germans with Volkswagen producing something like this, where it had a hatchback, it was really well built, it started every single morning, and it's
always a good thing.
Yeah, always a good
Unlike
thing.
Unlike a British car, this one actually started.
Yeah. Even when it's cold, it's amazing, and it's a real novel concept. But this really helped to help the demise of the British car industry. And it's interesting because then over here we have a Rover 75, which I actually own one of these as well, because this represents the end of the line for the British car industry, at least in a mass production form. Because this was actually made by the Germans, because BMW bought out Rover in the late 90s and they came up with this design. And this particular example here, this is one of the last ones ever made. I think from that sign they said it was made in the last 2 months before Rover went bust in 2005.
And am I correct in thinking that this particular one only has 1 mile on the clock?
Yeah, that's right. It only has 1 mile on the clock. The guy bought it from a whole bunch of stock that was going into liquidation.
So I imagine in the museum, when they move this, they actually pick it off the ground so the wheels don't turn, because they don't want to clock up the speed.
Don't ruin the
don't add any more miles on it. 1 is fine.
Yeah.
Just come to the really nice cafe here at the Beaulieu Motor Museum, and Pete has ordered a side of jalapenos. So Pete, you didn't realise there'd be that many, but...
No, this whole pot was full and there was kind of a mound of them at the top.
But you're not one to waste things, are you?
I'm having the lot, and damn be the consequence.
I'm so glad he's not sharing the camper van with us.
Sauce for and some mayo.
So behind us is a very kind of quintessential British classic, the Ford Anglia. Apparently this one was in a film called, was it Barry Trotter?
I think it's Parry Botter.
It's something about wizards or something, but apparently it's quite a famous one, so it's cool to see.
Yeah, but I think they had like lightsabers and stuff in the film.
Yeah,
and,
I've always liked the Klingons,
yeah.
I've always liked the inverted rear windscreen on these cars.
Yeah, and I've always just liked the interior, just very, very quintessentially 1950s, particularly that nice leather and the chrome.
The staff were joking about, because they said this one can fly, like...
What kind of craziness is that?
So behind me is what a lot of people call a Robin Reliant, and that's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
It's a Reliant Robin, but before you start typing in the comments below, this isn't a Reliant Robin, it is a Reliant Regal Supervan 3 that was famously used in Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah, and one of them actually also appeared in Mr. Bean, that blue three-wheeler he was always pushing out of the way.
And it's funny you say Mr. Bean, because look at this. That's actually Mr. Bean's Mini.
Fantastic.
So Jolie, you've never been on a monorail before.
Look at the view. This sheer drop. That's pretty, like, scary.
So here in the Top Gear exhibition we have the P45. I thought I'd better put this in the video because this was Clarkson's attempt to make a car that is officially smaller than the Peel P50 because it's not actually a production car, so it doesn't count. But if you look at it, to me, it's not as small as a Peel P50, come off it. I love pre-war cars, like it's one of my biggest passions, but I'm also quite weird. I'm always drawn to the weirdest cars. And I remember when I first saw the Outspan orange car here at the Beaulieu Motor Museum when I was a child, I've always been captivated and thought, there is literally no reason why I couldn't drive a giant orange to work. So here at the Beaulieu Motor Museum, they don't just have all the cars, but all this beautiful kind of shop exteriors really gives you a feel for the time that these cars are from. It's just literally, this whole place is an experience. So we come to the part of the museum here with all the motorbikes and things, and you look at some of these earlier designs and it's just beautiful the way that you've got the external gears and all the workings. I could look at these things all day. But then I've also got an eye for the more silly things. So here we actually have motorized roller skates, and this actually was a thing that happened once in the past. And I've been told they worked really well, except they would consistently break your shins. We are privileged enough to see this 1939 Auburn in the Beaulieu workshop. This is the actual workshop where the magic happens. And this car is like a work of art. And I've been told it's got the body of a supermodel, but the chassis of a garden gate.
Okay.
Good luck. Hey. Mo, it's all right. Most people stall it on their first go.
Yes.
So really slow on the clutch bites like crazy, so really slow.
I went right.
He is also pointing uphill, which doesn't help.
You knew you were going to do it, didn't you?
Most people stall it first go, to be fair, so I stalled it many times, yeah. I still do sometimes. That's it. Beautifully done. We have had the most excellent time at Beaulieu Motor Museum. I've had the time of my life. Have you enjoyed yourself?
It's been amazing. Thank you so much, guys, for letting us
come and it was great. I mean, I've always loved Beaulieu, and you know, not only is it an incredible collection of cars, and the staff were so fun and so kind of into the project.
Yeah.
We had lovely food at the cafe. It's just been the most wonderful
amazing.
time. Pete had a whole bowl of jalapenos, so he's been enjoying himself all day. So. He's still recovering, shall we say?
I think they were a bit hot.